Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson, our fifth and final episode in the series, How to Win in Bikini. And ironically, off camera, Adam and I were just talking about general anxiety, losing sleep because you can't turn your brain off. And what's more normal than that during peak week, where you're just, as a competitor, you're trying to cross every T, dot every I, and just make sure you have it all done. You're racing around trying to get out of town. Perhaps you got job, family duties, and all that. Man, you have to be ready for peak week. You have to learn how to slow down and relax and create a mindset of just confidence, some serenity in some places somehow, regardless of all the activity. Because outside of all of the mechanical little variables that you may be discussing and trying to interpret with a coach, anything that is above that foundationally with just your health, your sleep, your perspective, your moving around physically and all that, like that can change a lot. And I think, Adam, one common thing that we see as coaches is you're typically going to see that anxiety and adrenaline ramp up a lot. So it's one of the reasons why during peak week you can start seeing weight free falls. However well you think you plan things out, you can just see uh, some cortisol induced changes, but mostly just the activity and the adrenaline type, change that you have to be ready for. But on contest day, that almost seems to be times a million.
Right.
Like it just freaks people out. And I have to remind clients, like, hey, you can't just be walking around pacing for 8 hours straight in heels on cement. Like you need some time to sit down, lay down, relax. So for contest day, what do you do to prepare your clients, even with the instructions of how you want them to report to you, what information, what's your whole flow for a bikini competitor on contest day?
Yeah. So planning contest day, I usually don't allow until they go to check-ins. So when they go in and they kind of get what I call the final draft of the schedule, because I've had this happen where the promoter has changed it based on the amount of entries. And nothing's worse than having someone already plan their day and then have to replan it. And then you just always wonder, are they going to look at the right sheet? So, they're to send me the schedule, their show day, and then I base the meal times and what times I want them to send pictures from there. So try to give them little to think about. The more that they're thinking about, the more they're likely to mess up. And I typically tell them, go ahead and eat breakfast. You don't have to wait for my response. But that meal, too, I usually want them to hold off on eating until I see them and I can look at the change from morning to that meal, too. And kind of go from there and just instruct as the day goes, make it smooth, make it easy, and, make it convenient for them.
Yeah, one of the things that I do that I think helps a lot, because the first question I get is, especially when it's maybe the night before and some of these questions haven't popped into their minds, like when do I eat my first meal? Like when? I need a time. And my response is always sleep is the most important thing. Like I don't care if we can only eat once. I want you to get the most sleep possible. So don't set your alarm for 1 or 2 in the morning, just so you can get a certain amount of food in. But then I will go through contingencies. And, this happens with clients overseas where, they may be 15 hours or 10 hours ahead, and we may not be in communication for a few hours because of the time change for a certain amount. So, for example, clients competing in Australia, I know I'm generally going to be with them when they wake up because it's maybe Friday night for me, Saturday morning for them, and I can get them all the way close to the stage. But it helps when I've already given them a list of contingencies. If things are going quicker, we're going to drop this meal. Things slow down a little bit, get delayed, we're going to add this here. And I want 2 hours here or 3 hours there. Or if you start feeling a little bit soft, we can delay this meal for an hour. And if you start looking flat, then knowing that you've got this much water, I want to increase here. Like even if you are able to communicate with your coach rapid fire all day long, I think it's helpful to have a lot of that framework in place so you as a client you just don't have to guess and wait every 5 minutes to be told what to do. You should have a really good idea how this is going to pan out for the day, and then still have that communication just to make sure things are where they should be and get that second set of eyes for some better objectivity.
Absolutely. I think sometimes if the rapid fire is really there, we probably didn't plan enough, right? And the person might be thinking that show day ultimately is important, but maybe ultimately more important than, or they're expecting some kind of change that just maybe isn't possible. And I think that's one of the biggest things we battle as coaches, because we have this big name called Peak Week. The dieting really needs to be done before then. The look needs to be there. And if you don't have it, the peak is likely not going to bring that out. So that's one of the most important things.
And just, competitors want to win. They want to win for their coach as well. They want to be a team player. And so the expectation of making those decisions together and, making sure that you're doing everything right. I know that's a really high priority and a lot of pressure, but again, especially from the coach's responsibility perspective, just to make sure clients are confident, they have a lot of those sets of if this, then that criteria and contingencies in place, then it should just relax the conversation a little bit more. Because yes, we definitely want a lot of communication on contest day, but it's not that you have to be afraid to make any move until you hear from a coach. I think that almost just induces more stress and anxiety, and probably even miscommunication, because you're just waiting too much in anticipation instead of planning with a lot of confidence and a mindset of I'm ready to win.
Yeah. Another thing I tell clients to plan on it not going, as fast as we think, or plan on it going faster sometimes. I had a girl this weekend who had to skip her pump up meal, and she was like, "Is that wrong?" I'm like, "No, because you ate literally an hour ago and there was no fitness that showed up. There was zero wellness and zero figure. So bam, she was on stage right away."
And that was a good break that she had had that meal. So, all the other
Yep.
competitors in her division were in the same boat, but maybe she was in, better prepared.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. Well, that is how to win bikini. We're going to continue this meta series going through the other divisions and eventually getting over to the guys side, but we will see you next time in Contest Prep University. Thanks as always.